Hey, thanks for being a part of the conversation. My name is Arroe. Podfest brings together 3 different conversations from musicians to authors, doctors, environmentalists, or cooks in their own kitchen. It's real people with real stories. Podfest 47 features Adrian Crutchfield, a celebrated jazz musician who has been blessed to touch the world. Then we're headed into the world of old shows that we can binge watch today with actor AJ Buckley from SEAL Team on CBS. And we'll wrap things up with pigs. Author Alesia Soltanpanah knows a whole lot about these cute but very messy oinkers. This is Podfest 47. Adrian Crutchfield, a celebrated jazz saxophonist, is adding host to his ever-growing resume. The international touring star has been named MC to Live from the Playroom, the award-winning live stream production from the Queen City's oldest music production facility, the Playroom Recording Studio. Known for his neo-soul sound and level of talent, Crutchfield performed on icon Prince's last 3 albums, in addition to working with Prince's backup band, the New Power Generation. Crutchfield's robust touring schedule in recent years has included performances with Lionel Richie, Bette Midler, CeeLo Green, and so many more. His 2017 album Leap cemented Crutchfield's footprint in a searing genre-bending sound. We are unplugged and totally uncut with Adrian Crutchfield.
What's up, Arroe? What's going on?
You just hanging out, just taking life easy?
Oh, man. Watching this weather making me real drowsy.
Yeah. Well, I thought musicians, when they had bad weather like this, they just got, sit down at the piano or some musical instrument and just, got into the blues.
No, that's a myth. That does not happen. We sleep. That's what we do. It's like musicians, we already have a hard time because we don't sleep at night. So that's when the creative juices happens, like 2 or 3 in the morning. But then when you get rain, like, it's great when it's nighttime and it rains, because then we sleep. But when it's daytime like this, it's like you can't, like, you're paralyzed. It's like the whole thing about it, if you can get a shark upside down and rub its belly, it'll pass out. Yeah, that's us. When it's raining, we're rendered helpless. We can't do anything. So,
why do you think it is that creative people can't sleep at night? Do you think it's because those that are around us, maybe the judgers and the takers, are away from us enough to where we can just open up?
I think so. I think it's a number of things. I think for one is that the concept that that's when everybody else kind of shuts down, and so we literally just have open, clean, clear space to think and just to be free and not be distracted by anything, people calling or texting or active on social media, that kind of thing. So we can really just kind of have a clear space to think. Believe it or not, I also think it has something to do with like lunar activity. I don't know, it's just, it just seems to make sense, that gravitational pull just kind of brings out something. And that's when the juices flow. Like, I'll literally wake up in the middle of the night with something in my head, and it'll be clear as day. But if I try to wait until the morning, it'll be gone. It'll be gone. Or even if I wake up in the morning right after dreaming about it, once I get to my piano or my instrument, it's gone. So if it doesn't come to me in the middle of the night and I go do it, then I pretty much lose it.
Speaking of that music that we hear in the middle of the night, on my radio show today, I actually physically took on the subject of there has to be a time sometime in the future when the music industry will be able to capitalize and monetize the music that is running through everybody else's head in the middle of the night, because it seems like everybody hears a song while they're sleeping, but they're getting that song for free.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a time where, that's going to be a very dangerous time. I think there was a movie that basically kind of hinted at that, where they were like, hey, was it Judge Dredd? Where they're like advertising commercials and stuff in your head?
Yeah.
It's going to be advertising. They're going to, it's probably, maybe this whole Corona set, when they stick that thing up your nose, that might be the start of it. They're playing something that they can use to advertise. Who knows?
Well, congratulations on Live from the Playroom. I mean, this presentation is music. It's music in forward motion.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm really excited, man. I've been close with Eddie for a long time, and Playroom's been, like another home for me. The Playroom was my first experience as far as, I've been all over the world, and I've seen all kinds of rehearsal spaces and all that stuff, SIR and all those global places where we rehearsed for tours and things like that. And it was funny because going to those places for the first few times, I was like, this is like their version of Playroom. Because Playroom was what I knew to be that thing, that concept. So I didn't know, now it's funny because most people come into Charlotte and they say, this is Charlotte's version of SIR or one of those other organizations, or Center Stage or whatever. And I'm like, nope, we're our own thing. We've got our own thing. So, but it's funny because that's the way most people would look at it. Whereas I'm looking at it from the opposite way because I came up here and the Playroom was that for me. So it's really cool to be, kind of coming back into it as a host with this whole live streaming thing. And I got to say, man, I mean, what a timing, this whole live streaming thing. Eddie had talked to me about his plans to do live streaming way before we knew anything about this whole pandemic. So he was planning this without knowing the importance of it, which is really crazy. Because he literally started getting ready for it. He got everything set up, and then that's when everything got locked down. And so it was just, the timing was impeccable. And at first it was touch and go because we didn't know what this thing was. We still don't know what this thing is. But it was touch and go because we didn't want to have too many people in the room. We wanted to keep everything sterile. We didn't know how to do those types of things. So he was very hesitant. He didn't want to do too much. But then once we kind of figured out the formula, it just kind of fell together and it just made sense, man. And I got to say, you don't see too many venues that have put in the effort. You will see them, but right now you don't see too many venues that have what's at the Playroom.
So now, does that change the live audience? Because that's the one thing that I kind of fear of right now because of these private streaming concerts and stuff like that. Because, it seems like every time that I see somebody at the Spectrum Arena, I fork out my $250 and I'm still up there in the nosebleed section. But now with these streaming performances, I'm right there in the front row.
Exactly. And I think that it's a double-edged sword. On one side, so some people are worried that the live streaming thing, when the live music thing comes back, that the live streaming thing may hinder or hurt the industry. I don't think so at all. I think it has the potential to, but I think that threat is no different than any other threat that's been presented to us in the past. The live music industry was already suffering. And so, like you said, it used to be you pay $250 to go to this show. I think that people are still going to do that because they want what people are actually looking for when they go to these concerts is they want to be in the room. They want to be in the room, and they want I remember coming up in the music industry, and, people talk the talk and they walk the walk. Some people exaggerate, and I remember being in a room talking to some guys, and they were both bragging about, their, accolades or what, their experiences. And this one guy was like, yeah, man, I was hanging out with Usher last night. We were at the club together, having drinks. I figured out very soon that what that really translates to is I was at the club last night. And I was in the general population of the club,
right,
the big room.
Right.
And Usher came in. And he went to the VIP. I wasn't with him, but I was there.
That's right.
and he had drinks, and I was having drinks. So we were having drinks together. That's what that really translates to. And so people want just the opportunity to go and be in the presence of those people that they that they idolize and that they're fans of. They just want to be in the room. They want to be in camaraderie, and they want that social experience. And they're always going to want that. It's human nature for us to want that, especially with people that we idolize and that we fan over and that we love. We grow to love. I remember the first time I went to a Prince concert. I mean, the first Prince concert I went to, which was here in Charlotte in 2011. I was, I'd been to many concerts, but it was Prince. I was like, I love Prince. Like, just to be in the room, and then to be able to go on. I actually was opening with Anthony Hamilton, so to be able to go on that stage was a whole nother thing. And to be able to see him, he rode his bike past and sound check and waved at us.
Really?
I mean, I could have died, man. I could have died, But all the same, I could be in the audience, up in the nosebleed.
Yep.
And just to see him, and if he just points at us.
So where do you see this growing?
Pay-per-view type of thing. That's what I anticipate. So you can either buy tickets and go to the show if you want that experience, which most people still will. And you got to imagine, how many people do these shows turn away every time they have a show? When they sell out the show and they can't sell any more tickets, how many people are being turned away? Not only that, how many people live in towns that don't have these shows? For a long time, I don't know if you know this, but for a long time, Charlotte was blacklisted as far as concerts. Yeah, Charlotte was a dead zone for most major concerts at least for R&B. Because, and here's why. It's not because we're a metropolis, we're a huge city. The problem was ticket sales. So if you look at a company like Live Nation or any of those, the way they generate or the way they determine where they're going to go, or where their venues are going to be, is by pre-sale. Charlotte is not a pre-sales city. Charlotte is a buy at the door, we want to buy our ticket right now before we go in type of city. They're not going to do very well on pre-sales. And so because of that, Charlotte became because nobody wanted to invest in concerts here without knowing what the take was going to be. It was too big of a risk. And so if you imagine other cities, smaller cities, Shelby, North Carolina, anywhere, Roanoke, Virginia, my hometown, where these cities where they're being passed over by most major big concerts. Imagine how many people in that population want to go and see this show but can't. Either they don't have the money to drive and get a hotel in Charlotte, or they're not old enough, or they just can't afford the real ticket. They can still go online and have the experience. It's the thing. How many people watch the Super Bowl?
Well, you can definitely see that on pay-per-view. You can see that on pay-per-view, the way that Disney is playing that card, where you can get Mulan for $30 and people are going, $30? But you know what? You can get 10 people in your house, and that $30 is a good deal.
That's a good deal. And so, that's the thing is, I guarantee you, more people, back on the Super Bowl thing, I guarantee you there are more people watching Super Bowl on TV than there are in the stadium. And so, or a fight, a Mike Tyson fight. Think about Mike Tyson back in his prime. A Tyson pay-per-view fight. You know how much money they made on that? So the industry is actually gonna thrive when everything comes back, because more venues are going to access the live stream concept and use it to supplement what they're already doing. The cool thing is with the Playroom is went early, and there are a few venues in Charlotte that are. I'm super proud of Charlotte, just as a whole. I'm super proud because there are 5 venues here that are maximizing on the whole live stream concept. And by maximizing, what I mean is they're not cutting corners. I've seen live streams. I've seen a bunch of them where it's literally just people. One thing I can't tolerate, Arroe, is when I see people say, I'm going to have a live stream, full concert, blah, 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 get your ticket, blah, 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 make donations, and then I go and check it out, and it's literally their iPhone.
Yep.
I can't. I mean, I get it, and I'm all about the hustle, because at this point, we don't have income, and so people have bills to pay and families to feed. I understand. but I can't in good conscience ask people for money if I'm not investing that money into a production. So, you know, the least you could do is give them a multi-camera, full sound, and staged performance, so they can feel like they're at a show and not feel like they're in your living room. Which there's a time and place for that.
That's the vibe that there is, and that's the vibe that I get when I watch live at the Playroom. Is that each one of those stages has a personality of its own, and that you're going there for the experience of it all.
Right. You're going for the experience, and it's like, yeah, you're in your home or you're in your office or wherever you're watching. You're in your car, wherever you're watching. But it's just like a movie, you know. When you dial in and focus in, you forget that you're in your home. You forget that you're in your office. You're actually in a concert, in a venue, and that's what makes it super killing. And like I said, Charlotte, we have a few venues that are doing that. I just think that right now the Playroom is the most packed. I mean, the most souped up, if you will. It's got the most, you know, accessories and everything. It's got full sound, a full stage and backline, lighting, effects. 4 cameras, you know, just and it always looks different. So it's just super killing.
Well, is the goal to become the next Austin City Limits, or is the goal to be, hey, we're the Playroom?
I think it started as that. I think maybe Eddie might have had that intention of making it like the next version of Austin City Limits, but I think as it grew and as he saw the potential, that went out of the window. There will never be another Austin City Limits. That's Austin City Limits is its own thing, you know, and nobody can compare to that. But also, that's the thing is Charlotte has mimicked a lot of things about Austin, which is cool. But at the end of the day, one of my ultimate goals, what I want to see, and I'm not a native of Charlotte, but I've been here long enough. This is home. And what I want to see with Charlotte and what I take pride in is the culture. And what I want to see is for us as a whole, as a culture, to be recognized globally. Just like New Orleans or Chicago or New York or Philly or, you know, or Austin, Texas, you know, or Atlanta. I want us to have our own culture, our own artistic stamp, our own artistic signature that people recognize. I want people to come to Charlotte for tourism because of the art, not just because of the banking or the pretty city line, the pretty skyline. I want them to come because of the art, and I take a lot of pride in that because I'm seeing it come to fruition. We're starting to gain our own culture. I talk about this a lot with people about how growing up and coming up in the music industry, one of the most damaging things I saw, one of the most, you know, disturbing things was, you know, as a quote unquote local artist, when I was considered that, and for all of my colleagues who are local artists, we weren't getting the support from our community. Meaning, yeah, we didn't have support from our community, meaning nobody wanted to pay to come and see us. And the venues didn't want to pay, or the promoters didn't want to pay because the patrons didn't want to pay. They'd say, well, you know, but if Beyonce came, you know, or Justin Timberlake came, or whoever, and it made me think, man, you know, how is it that you people, you know, that these local people are willing to spend hundreds of dollars on one night to be in the same room with someone they have no connection to and may never get a chance to even speak to. But you can't spend $20 to support someone that you've seen around, that you watched grow up or that you watched build themselves up. And then you can say, you know, you were a part of their culture. And I thought that was strange because, like, even on a smaller scale, you know, for example, a local artist here, I can't really name anybody off the top of my head, but a local artist here could do a show, and he could be right across the street from someone who came in from Philadelphia, right? And that artist from Philadelphia could have the same clout or the same amount of success as this local artist in Charlotte, right? But because the artist is from Philadelphia, more people are going to go to that show because that artist is about it. And so, you know, that used to bother me. And so I made it like a kind of a, you know, a task of mine. I was like, I want to make it so that people in Charlotte take more pride in our culture. And it's starting to happen. And one of the things I had to realize was the reason why, you know, people didn't take pride in our culture is because we didn't have one yet. We didn't have one because if you look at it, Charlotte is growing so fast. Everybody's coming in from all over the place. So they're bringing their pride for their culture from wherever they're from, you know? But now we're starting to see them take pride in the local culture because their kids are here and their kids are growing up in this culture. And so they're creating a culture that is Charlotte, and it's super killing. So yeah, man, I know I went off on a tangent, but yeah, man, I think that the live, you know, the Playroom Live thing, yeah, it started off as a concept to try to be something similar to Austin City Limits, but I think it's taken on its own identity completely. I mean, you got Austin City Limits, you got Daryl's house. Do you remember that?
Yes, absolutely. That was an experience.
Yeah, you got all these things that are great markers and great tools to learn from, and now we have an opportunity to make something. Like, you know, really what I want to see, man, is I want to see major artists say, I want to play the Playroom.
Yeah.
I want to play the Playroom Live. When can we do that? Or, hey, you know, I'm coming through Charlotte on a tour. I want to do a live stream from the Playroom. Or an after party. You know what? We're doing a show in Charlotte, but we're going to do an after party jam session at the Playroom live stream. You know, that's what I want to see happen, where people literally, when they come to Charlotte, when artists come to Charlotte, they know, you know, they just know, and they asking. I want them to be asking about it. Like, hey, you know, how can we get, I see we're going to Charlotte. Can we set up something? Or even from my standpoint, you know, and I haven't even talked to Eddie about this. This was crazy. From my standpoint being that I came up, you know, I'm an artist in my own right, but I have always been a supporting role. I've always been a musician for other people, right? Now, with that being said, there are so many musicians who are well-known musicians, but they play in other people's bands, right? And what they do is they do pickup gigs in the cities on the off days, right? I'm sure you've seen it. RC and the Grits, Sean and the guys from Snarky Puppy, you know, anybody's band, Anthony Hamilton and his band, you know, whoever, they always pick up, you know, their own date. Isaiah Sharkey, you know, they always pick up their own dates in the off days when they don't have to play with this major artist. If those guys are coming into town and they know they're coming into town, they might say, well, shoot, we're playing a concert on Friday, but we get in town on Thursday. I wonder if I can set up a show at the Playroom, do a live stream.
Yep, sell me some tickets. You know? Sell me some tickets.
You see what I'm saying? And so they're like, yeah, and then that's extra money to these, that's supplementing these supporting role artists that are trying to come up and make something of themselves. And then what happens is that major artist that they work for sees it and says, where is that place? Oh, man, I want to do that. You see? But it can't be the living room vibe. It has to be, you know, full production, a venue, you know, and that's what I like about the Playroom, because there's nothing about it that says that, nothing about the Playroom says unprofessional. Like, everything is legit. And ideally, you know, that's why when you go to these major studios, they got all these aesthetics and everything up. It's not helping anything. Trust me. It's just so the artists feel like they want to be there. Yep.
You
know, and that's what the Playroom is. The Playroom, yeah, I mean, it's got everything. Don't get me wrong. Everything in there is great. Like, especially the vault. Especially since they added the vault. You have a full recording studio there that's fully functional. But it's pretty. And artists are going to say, wow, I like this. I want to do something like this, you know? And so I'm just super excited to see what happens.
Well, they've got the right host for the show because it requires more than knowledge. It requires the experience of what it's like to be on that stage. And that's what you're going to bring to those viewers.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've been in every aspect of that place. I think over my tenure at Playroom, I have been a tenant in like at least 4 of the practice rooms with different bands. I've, one of my life goals was to get on the wall, man. That was one of my life goals. I was like, I got to get on that wall.
There you go. I know that wall you're talking about.
Yeah. I told Eddie, I said, man, one day you're going to put me on that wall. Or I'm going to go to Kinko's and get my own.
There you go.
And I'm going to plaster myself on that wall so you can't take it down. And he laughed. And then one day, he called me up and invited me to lunch, and I came to lunch, and he pulls out this framed picture of me and Prince and was like, I need you to sign this so I can put it on the wall. And I was like, I made it. So not only that, now he's got the screen up on the wall, and he's playing videos of the performances at the Playroom, and I'm on that, so it's super exciting. It's like I said, it's one of my goals in life. It's a success marker. So, yeah, I have the experience I know that room. I know the experience. I've been on both sides of it. I've been the artist. I've been on the production side, and also I've been in the audience. I've watched the live streams with Ziad and those guys playing there and different stuff. I've watched it, so I'm super excited, man. I think that, like I said, the timing was everything. Eddie had this idea it was a long time ago, way before we knew anything about this whole pandemic thing or lockdowns or anything. And he started to put it together, and then he stopped because, like I said, it was a health thing. It was like, we don't know how contagious this is. We don't know if we can actually even do this without breaking any rules. And then once we finally figured out how to be safe, it just kind of fell together. And the more he does it, the more they do it, the better it gets. And it's just like, I can't wait to do another show because my show was one of the first ones. So it was like, it was great. But now he's got extra effects. He's mastered some of the things with the camera.
That's so true.
I'm like, wait, I want that. Like, right. I was watching the show. And they got like LED screens in the background.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I didn't get that. Where's mine? I want to redo. So like, it just keeps getting better, man. I mean, imagine what's going to happen when, ideally when they can. Well, first thing first. Imagine what's going to happen when you can actually have a live audience in the room.
I was wondering about that.
Eventually, that's what's going to happen. Eventually, I don't know for sure because I haven't spoken to Eddie about it, but I imagine that's what's going to happen. You're going to start having. I mean, we had the Playroom Festival in there.
That's right.
When it rained, we had the Playroom Festival in there, and it was great. And I liked it because it was crowded, but it was empty. I had never experienced that room in that way. And one of the hardest things for an artist to do, I didn't realize it until I did my performance at the Playroom. I'll say this. When I did my performance at the Playroom, I was scared, terrified, because, listen, when this whole pandemic thing hit, I quarantined because I had been traveling the West Coast and Alaska and all these hot spot places. I had been on a cruise ship right before that in February. I had been everywhere. So I was like, I don't want to, if I catch it, I catch it. But I don't want to be responsible for anyone else catching the virus. And so I quarantined. When I got home, I ordered, to this day, I have not been in a grocery store since March. I order everything. And so when it was time for my show in May, when we did the sound check, I had not been out of my apartment complex in 8 weeks. So I want to call it like PTSD or something because I was having anxiety attacks. I was scared. I was like, just being around people was super unnerving to me and uncomfortable. And so, I mean, I was really terrified. And then on top of that, once we got started and got the show going, I didn't realize how hard it is to play with no reciprocated energy.
Yeah.
There's no audience. There's nobody to respond to.
Right.
So it's super. I mean, you got to give these people credit when they're doing these live streams because they have no one to respond to. They have, performing is all about energy, and performing is all about, giving energy and receiving it back. That's what makes a great performance. And if you don't have that other aspect, you don't have an audience, a physical audience, it's super hard. And, even in that 8 weeks that I was quarantining, I was doing some online stuff with some friends and developing some things. And we were doing online performances for people, via using OBS and Zoom. But even with that, we could see our audience. We could see the Zoom people signing in and watching and dancing and smiling, and we were getting energy from them. So we were able to. It was so much easier playing live with a band and all of that energy and not getting anything back. It took everything out of me. I mean, by the third song, I was soaking wet. Soaking wet. And we did 40 minutes. We did 40 minutes, man. I felt like we were on stage for 3 hours.
Yep.
And so it's really crazy, but yeah, it's all about energy, and I think that's the way it's going to go eventually. And then, I think that with this whole setup, the beauty of it is, I'm pretty sure that most of it is mobile. So Eddie could literally take this whole Playroom Live thing anywhere. So you could do an outdoor concert and make it a live stream show.
Man, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. You've got some stories, and I definitely want to hear these stories.
Oh, yeah. Anytime, man. Anytime. Like I said, I have nothing else to do. I'm literally here. I'm drinking some coffee, waiting for the sun to come out so I can go upstairs and make some music.
There you go. I love it. Please come back anytime. The door is always going to be open for you.
Man, anytime you just call, man. Just call. You got my number now.
I do. Well, you be brilliant today, okay, guy?
Yeah, man. I'll see you soon.
That's Play It Forward. You can hear other conversations just like this one on all 3 of my podcasts. Like It's Live, Unplugged and Totally Uncut, and View from the Writing Instrument. All found on every digital platform. First, the trailer to Season 1 of SEAL Team. And then when we come back, we'll be Unplugged and Totally Uncut with AJ Buckley.
I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Do we have the resources to rescue the hostage?
As soon as the sun goes down.
Good luck.
SEALs at this level, these guys are all-stars.
You make it back home to us.
It's good work. Hey, what's going on, AJ?
How's it going?
Hey, how about that first season already out on DVD? I mean, you have created a show here that is so worth the binge watching. What is that like for you to be in a situation like this, knowing what your journey has been all about?
As an actor to portray, the men and women that have fought for this country, it's a huge honor. I mean, it's a dream role too for any actor. You get to show up to work every day and fly in Blackhawks and shoot guns, and it's a job that you always dream of having, and to be surrounded by such great people that have served, and over half of our crew are veterans. Our entire stunt team are all former Special Forces guys, so just get to go to work with them every day is really special. Don't
you love that moment where you can actually tell the stories of our U.S. soldiers? Because, I mean, Oliver North was the one that looked at me and said, I'm not a broadcaster until I tell the story of the soldier. Do you feel the same thing?
Yeah, it's important to all of us on the set that we get it right and that we tell the story from their eyes and what they've been through. And I take great pride in the fact that, from all our producers, to when we're on set, you know, there's nothing that doesn't go through our tech advisors, and they who are our former special guys, SEAL Team 6 guys, that they have the final say. As far as if we're doing something that's incorrect, they can step in at any time. So there is a great respect for how the story is portrayed.
For preparing for the role, what kind of workouts or anything that you had to put your body into to get yourself in shape to prepare this Navy SEALs role?
Oh man, I thought it was in good shape until we started doing this show. It's a whole nother level of fitness. I mean, we're shooting like 13, 14-hour days. We'll usually go to the gym prior to work, and then all the equipment that we carry up on us is about 30 or 40 pounds of equipment. They use all real stuff. So you're running up and down hills all day, and I mean, it's definitely. There's nothing that you can really train for. You just have to. Your body just has to adjust, and it takes a while to adjust. But your body just goes, okay, I guess this is the norm, and I got to make it work. So, but and I think the one thing that we did learn through these guys is it isn't how physically strong you are; it's how mentally tough you are, and that to me was the most fascinating thing. They would say just even in buds or whatnot when they were going through it, they would see these huge guys, these physical specimens, and those would be the guys to break first. So it's how mentally tough these guys are, to me, is the most fascinating thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, man, sounds like a lot of CrossFit stuff going on there. But anyways, Arroe was talking to you about the first series coming out on CD and stuff like that. Were you guys looking into possibly putting this series out on like Netflix or Hulu or one of those binge watching sites?
Yeah, I'm sure. I know the DVD will be. It's available now. But I'm sure, as most shows do, they end up on other platforms with. That I don't know offhand where they be, but I know you can get the DVD right away.
Does this inspire you to want to get into your own directing and producing of shows now that you're really getting yourself involved in it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I've directed stuff in the past, but this is. I mean, from when I did CSI, that was like me going to college as far as film school and whatnot, because you're just there. You're there all day, every day. It's with this show in particular as well. You're surrounded by these great directors that come in, and our executive producer Chris Chulak is done shows ER through Shameless, Southland. So their style of directing is something that I really like. So yeah, to be surrounded by greatness all the time, you pick up a thing or two.
All right, you talked a lot about mental toughness being a very focal point, as well as physical toughness. Where do you give a testament to your own mental toughness throughout your life? Where do you think that comes from?
100% from my father. Oh. Yeah, my dad was he was just a great man, and he passed away a few years ago, but just his ability to provide for the family and his work ethic and how he was looked at by his friends and by my mom and all our kids. So yeah, from my father for sure.
Hey, if you'd like to grab more info about AJ Buckley and SEAL Team, CBS.com. There are certain subjects we should be talking about, such as taking better care of the pigs. No, really, there's a reason why we're talking about this, and it's going to change the way you think and quite possibly eat. Hey, it's Arroe inside the LAProductions.us studio, unplugged and totally uncut with Alesia Soltanpanah. We're talking pigs. I mean, enough people this morning have probably had breakfast and things like this, but they just don't understand the message that you're bringing forward here, and it is an eye-opener.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think a lot of people are not aware of how pigs are raised in the U.S. or around the world, and so, our message is really to get people educated about where their pork is coming from. North
Carolina is a big pig state. We hear so many bad stories, but nobody really knows what to do or how to correct it.
Yeah, in fact, I think North Carolina had the first lawsuit where I think the neighbors were awarded $5 million in damages because of the environmental effects of the factory pig farm. I think that if you live in a state where there are factory farms, you're aware of the smell and kind of the environmental damage that will happen. But I think where people might be aware of the environmental effects, but you have to think of, too, that the pigs that are raised in those conditions are pork that you're ingesting, and that is not healthy for the pigs. It's not healthy for humans. It's doing a lot of damage, and I think that the way that pigs are raised now, they're raised in gestation crates, which are no bigger than a refrigerator. They have no room to turn around or move. They are steel cages. Most pigs are raised without ever seeing the light of day or feeling the ground underneath their feet. They are on steel floors with very limited space, and they become extremely frustrated. They become ill very often because this is not a healthy way to be raised. Pigs are very sentient beings and are often compared to the children that are age 3. That's how intelligent they are. And imagine your toddler being restricted in space and not being able to interact with other children, not being able to interact with toys. Pigs need enrichment. They need straw to play around and root in. They need toys to be able to play around with. And right now they're just being raised in very barren environments. And in fact, antibiotics are used on a regular basis as a preventative measure and to actually make them grow faster. And those antibiotics will get passed along to humans. And so our message is really for people to understand that pork is not being raised in the way that they probably think that it is.
The one thing that always kills me about most people, especially the government and local officials, won't do anything about these pig factory farms. But yet, if there was a puppy mill somewhere, they'd bust that in a heartbeat. But we can treat pigs wrong. But don't touch the puppies. I don't understand that, because pigs need love too.
Right. Well, and I think that comes because of demand, right? So I think even with puppy mills, I think the reason, if you looked, 30, 40 years ago, nothing was being done about puppy mills as well. And I think as consumers become educated and they understand that these things are coming about and they start to protest and talk about it, that's where the change comes from. And that's what we believe, too. We believe the change is going to come from consumers who are demanding that they know where their pork is coming from. They demand that it be higher welfare pork. They let their grocery stores or the retailers know that they want pork to be raised more humanely and that they understand what is going on. Part of the thing, too, is that pork production in the United States has doubled over the last 50 years. Mm-hmm. We consume about 271 pounds of meat per year, more than any other country in the world. Mm-hmm. So if we want also for pork production to go down and pigs to be raised more humanely and the quality of our meat to go up, we also would ask people to reduce our meat consumption, give up maybe one meal a day. Americans are known to eat meat at every meal. Maybe give up one meal a day without meat. I don't think it's asking a real lot, and if they can do that, the demand will also go down so that pigs can be raised in better conditions.
Something really started taking over this nation back in the 1980s, and that was turning pigs into pets. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I still see these pigs. I don't think that we're taking care of them even as pets. Is it wise to even bring a pig in as a pet?
Yeah, I think it is, but I think that what's happened, things that I've seen, is that pigs are adorable, right? People really do like them as pets. They're great pets. I think that sometimes, however, people, even in, I'm in New York City, and in New York City I've seen people take in pigs as pets, not realizing that they're barnyard pigs. Yeah. So they're baby pigs, and they're, maybe 20, 25 pounds, not realizing that these are going to be 500 or 600 pound pigs when they grow up. And so what's happened in this city is that they take them in as pets, and then they're going to have to go to a sanctuary or farm sanctuary. I've even known people to even move out of the city because they can't care for their pig. They become so attached to it. Yep. Pigs are excellent pets for sure. You just need the space and the room to raise a huge pig like that. But there are also smaller pigs, pot-bellied pigs, et cetera, that people have as pets, and people love them as pets. They're great pets.
One of the things that
very intelligent, they can be trained.
Yes, they can. I've seen some very trained ones. One of the things that I found very interesting is that we're talking about the mistreatment of pigs. It affects the air that we breathe because they're releasing gases that the rest of us can't see.
Correct, right. And I think that's why this lawsuit in North Carolina, the neighbors were given so much money, the $5 million lawsuit. I think it's going to be appealed, but I think that people need to understand it. Not only is it in the air that you breathe, but these huge factory farms are also releasing impurities into the water, and they're forever polluting lakes and ponds and the ground, that will never, ever come back. You'll see, if anybody Googles this, they'll see air shots of these pig farms, and the lakes by them are green and brown, have turned from regular water, and that will never recover. So we're really hugely harming the environment as well.
What is in it that where it can't even recover? I mean, you make me feel like it's like nuclear energy being put in the ground.
So it's mainly nitrogen and other toxic gases that are going into the ground. So it's and nitrogen isn't bad in itself, but the amount is bad that is going in, and that's why it can never recover. It's the manure that comes out of the pigs in huge quantities that can't naturally be absorbed into the earth.
Yeah. Are you guys doing a pig podcast or anything like that to where you guys can keep people up to date?
No, we're not, but we do have information on our website about, and we do keep it up to date to let people know what we're working on. We are currently working on a campaign to get grocery stores to change their policy so that they source pigs from non-gestation crate-free environments. And we recently worked with Kroger to get them to move, and they have changed their policy so that in 2025 they will no longer source pork from manufacturers that produce them in gestation crates. And gestation crates are just another word for cages, steel cages that pigs are raised in.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing a fine job. What is that website?
It's worldanimalprotection.us, and we encourage people to come back, look to our campaign, sign up for updates, and you'll hear a lot about what we're doing. But we also encourage people, please go to your grocery stores, take action on a local level, go to your Walmart, who we're currently working with. We want them to change their policies as well, and ask your grocer, where does support come from?
Yep. You were talking about Kroger. Kroger owns Harris Teeter here in the Carolinas. Harris Teeter is one of the biggest chains. I cannot wait for that change to happen.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we really applaud Kroger for making that step. They're the first major grocer to do so, and I think they're going to really help change the industry. So we look forward to more changes in the future.